All right, let's talk about something that I think we can all relate to, that feeling of being constantly tired. You ask yourself every single morning, why am I still so tired? Well, it turns out the answer might not be in your morning coffee, but in a story that actually got started about 400 years ago. So, yeah, let's get into it. Does any of this sound familiar? You think you got a full 8 hours, but you wake up feeling like you barely slept at all. Maybe your partner is always complaining about your snoring. Or you walk into a room and just completely forget why you're even there. These aren't just random signs of a busy life. They're clues that something is messing with your sleep on a really fundamental level.
For millions of people, the culprit is something called obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA for short. Now, I know that sounds super technical, but the idea is actually pretty simple. When you're asleep, all your muscles relax, right? Well, that includes the ones in your throat. For people with OSA, those muscles relax a little too much, and your airway literally collapses, blocking your breathing. And this happens again and again all night long.
So, how do doctors even measure this? They use something called the Apnea-Hypopnea Index, or AHI. It's really just a count of how many times your breathing gets blocked every hour. As you can see here, less than 5 times is considered normal. But if you have severe OSA, your breathing could be stopping more than 30 times an hour. I mean, think about that for a second. That's at least once every 2 minutes. Now, when most of us hear sleep apnea, our minds usually jump straight to weight. And look, while that can definitely be a factor, it's not the whole story, not even close. What if I told you the main reason so many of us are dealing with this today is anatomical, and it's a problem that pretty much didn't exist a few hundred years ago? And that brings us to the real heart of this explainer, a problem that has its roots 400 years in the past. We're about to connect the dots between how you feel when you wake up and our pre-industrial ancestors. The evidence, believe it or not, is written right on our faces. Okay, this slide right here, this explains everything. Take a look at ancient skulls from before the Industrial Revolution. Our ancestors had these wide, forward-growing jaws. That meant plenty of room for all their teeth and, crucially, a nice wide-open airway. Now, look at the comparison for modern jaws. They tend to be narrower and set further back. And the result? Crowded teeth, sure, but more importantly, a smaller airway that's much more likely to collapse. It's the perfect storm for obstruction. This quote just nails it. This is not some genetic flaw we've been carrying around for millennia. Researchers who study ancient human remains have found that sleep apnea is a distinctly modern disease. It was born out of huge shifts in our environment and our lifestyle over just the last few centuries. So what on earth happened? Well, it boils down to 3 big changes. First, our food got soft. Our ancestors ate tough, fibrous stuff that required a ton of chewing. That chewing was like a workout for the jaw, telling it to grow big and strong. Second, for various reasons, we started breathing through our mouths a lot more. And third, our activity levels just tanked. Our ancestors were constantly moving, which, it turns out, is a great natural decongestant that keeps your nasal passages clear. And this is where we get to your tongue's secret superpower. See, its natural resting position should be gently pressed up against the roof of your mouth. When it's there, it acts like a natural expander, putting constant, gentle pressure on the upper jaw, encouraging it to grow wide and forward. But if you're a mouth breather, your tongue has to drop down to let the air in. And when it does that, you lose that critical force for development. Okay, so now that we get the what and the why, let's talk about the stakes. What's actually going on inside your body when your airway collapses over and over again? Well, it's like a silent alarm that's going off all night long. Let's walk through the chain reaction. First, the airway collapses. Your oxygen levels start to drop fast. Your brain, which needs tons of oxygen, senses this emergency and it freaks out. It slams a big red panic button, flooding your body with adrenaline to shock you awake just enough to gasp for air. This whole process just shatters your sleep, stopping you from ever getting that deep, restorative rest you desperately need. And the consequences go way beyond just feeling tired. Get a load of this number, 80%. That's the estimated percentage of people who have high blood pressure that doesn't respond to medication who also have undiagnosed sleep apnea. Just think about that. Their hearts are in a constant state of stress from those nightly adrenaline spikes, and it shows up as a major cardiovascular problem. And the dominoes just keep falling. That nightly struggle for air creates this intense pressure in your chest, which triggers a hormone that tells your kidneys to produce more urine. That's why so many people with OSA have to get up to pee multiple times a night. And maybe scariest of all, It prevents the brain from doing its nightly wash cycle, where it clears out all the metabolic junk. Over time, this is linked to serious cognitive decline.
Okay, I know that was a lot of heavy stuff, but here is the really, really good news. Because this is largely a problem of function, it means there are functional solutions. This is all about reclaiming something that should be totally natural for us: easy, silent breathing.
And the foundation for all of it is built on one simple habit: breathing through your nose, day and night. Your nose was designed to filter and warm the air. It's the right tool for the job. So the very first step is just to become aware. Throughout the day, check in with yourself. Is your mouth open? Gently close it. Breathe through your nose. To really support nose breathing, you've got to get your tongue in the right spot, and we can actually find it right now together. Just say the word thing and kind of hold that ang sound at the end. See where the back of your tongue is hitting the roof of your mouth? That's the spot. Now just gently flatten the rest of your tongue up there. Close your lips and breathe. That's it. That's the posture.
Now, this isn't some intense exercise you have to do. The goal is to just gently retrain your muscles so that this becomes your new normal. This should be your tongue's default resting position whenever you are eating or talking. It definitely takes practice, but it's one of the most powerful things you can do to help keep your airway open.
And here are 2 other quick changes that can make a huge difference. First, get moving. A brisk walk, a run, any kind of vigorous exercise is one of the best natural decongestants out there. And second, try to stop eating at least a couple hours before you go to bed. Late-night meals can cause acid reflux that irritates your throat and makes congestion even worse. So when you boil it all down, we're left with this simple but really powerful idea. By looking back and understanding these profound changes that have happened to our bodies, we can start to reclaim the kind of robust health that our ancestors probably just took for granted. It really makes you wonder, right? What other secrets to our modern health are just waiting to be rediscovered in our past? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.